Hey dudes, how's it going? Welcome back. I'm Gemma. If you don't know me, welcome to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about idolatry. So here is when we dive into a little Bible study and we're going to look at Jonah because there is a great passage about idolatry and there's loads of good stuff in it. So with our Bible, if you want to, we're going to look at Jonah chapter 2. Here we are at the book of Jonah. Just for some context, I'm going to quickly go over chapter 1. It's quite a short read. It's only 16 verses if you do just want to have a little read yourself. But basically, God commands Jonah to go to a city called Nineveh to basically tell the people off because they are not behaving themselves. But Jonah is just straight up like, nope, and heads the other way down to Tarshish. So he pays his fare, he gets on the boat and he's sailing down to Tarshish, and then there is a huge storm. This is God sending a message to Jonah like, you can't run away from me. He says to the sailors, just throw me overboard, the storm will calm down, it's my fault. So eventually the sailors end up throwing Jonah overboard. That's where we are brought to chapter 2, which is when Jonah gets swallowed by a big fish. And it's no coincidence that Jonah has ended up in this fish. It's just such a weird story. God specifically sent this fish to basically save Jonah and give him another chance. So chapter 2 is largely about Jonah's prayer to God while he is in the belly of the fish. So I'm going to give this a quick read for you and then we can unpack it some more. In my distress, I called to the Lord and he answered me. From deep in the realm of the dead, I called for help, and you listened to my cry. You hurled me into the depths, into the very heart of the seas, and the current swirled about me. All your waves and breakers swept over me. I said, I have been banished from your sight, yet I will look again towards your holy temple. The engulfing waters threatened me. The deep surrounded me. Seaweed was wrapped around my head. To the root of the mountains I sank down. The earth beneath barred me in forever. But you, Lord my God, brought my life up from the pit. When my life was ebbing away, I remembered you, Lord, and my prayer rose to you, to your holy temple. Those who cling to worthless idols turn away from God's love for them, but I, with shouts of grateful praise, will sacrifice to you. What I have vowed, I will make good. I will say, salvation comes from the Lord. And after all of that, there's one final verse to complete this chapter, and it simply reads, and the Lord commanded the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto dry land. Okay, let's just ask ourselves the question, what is Jonah idolizing in this story? I don't know if I should sit and wait for you to just have a think or not. He is idolizing fear. And we know that because that was Jonah's reason for disobeying God. God commanded Jonah to go to Nineveh. If God was at the forefront of Jonah's life and Jonah's priorities, Jonah would have done what he said. Jonah would have trusted God, respected God, and had faith that it was going to be okay. But he chose not to do that because his idea of fear was so stronger than his respect for God, that he went with that and he obeyed that. Those who cling to worthless idols turn away from God's love for them. So often we can try and convince ourselves that it's possible for us to have an idol and also love God at the same time. But this verse clearly shows that that actually doesn't work. It's like we're trying to create a loophole in the system that doesn't actually exist. It doesn't fit. It's running off feelings that is really problematic. Jonah ran away from God because he felt scared, and it felt better to him to run away from fear rather than to fight through it. A wise man called Pete once told me, now this is paraphrased, he said the way to get over any kind of addiction or idol in your life is to first become dissatisfied with it. It's kind of like with fast food. It's so great because just the immediate taste, the smell, the psychological way that fast food chains are designed to make you feel happy and hungry through colour. Look it up, it's interesting. And in the moment it can make you feel really good. But we know that long term fast food is not great for us, it's not good for our health. But when we're in the moment and we can choose to go and get fast food compared to God standing there with a lovely fruit basket of healthy, organic, wonderful fruit, oftentimes it's just more satisfying to go for the fast food, even though we know that this is a short-term fix and that's a long-term fix. Don't care, because the short-term one feels better in the moment. And that's the kind of attitude with idols that could just keep us hooked for a really long time. So in this passage, Jonah had to reach the point where he was dissatisfied with his current situation. For Jonah, it finally clicked that that was his fault, that he had done something wrong. And once he's reached that point, we then go into chapter 2 when we just see him totally honour God. He sets his heart back in the right place. It starts with an inward thing. By this point, he hasn't fixed what God wanted him to do. He hasn't gone back to Nineveh yet, but he's taking the right steps and he's starting inwardly in his heart and in his head to apologise to God, honour him, accept what he's done wrong, and get back on track emotionally and spiritually. Boom. So I hope this video has been helpful. I hope you just understand a little bit more about idols now. I really encourage you to go away and reflect on your life and just think about the things that you might be loving more than God, because I feel like idols is one of those things where you don't often think, yeah, that's a sin that happens in my life. And if you do have close spiritual friends, which I hope you do, you guys, it would be really great if you could just have a conversation with each other, maybe go through the signs that I said at the beginning of the video, and see what you recognise in each other, because that can often give you different insight. Like one of my friends said to me, do you think you idolise marriage? And I was like, no. And now here I am making this video. So sometimes it can be really helpful to ask other people in your trusted circle. Like if you liked the video, comment your comments, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye! Oh gosh, now that I've moved into this position, all the air from in my top that was like against my neck is now just like seeping out in my neck, and I'm like, ooh. It's really hot.